Hi there, Aquarius. Welcome to a combination tarot and astrology reading for February 2020. Now, when I first started on YouTube over 4.5 years ago, I did combine them, and then at some point I separated them because I felt that it was a little bit cumbersome to kind of include them, to have them together. But I'm just going to, I'm just one of those people that I like to revisit things and see how it goes because it's a lot more streamlined, although it is kind of nice just to focus on one thing versus the other. So, I don't know, I sound like I just talked myself out of it, but I'm going to do it. And I think this is going to also be for the month of February. It's going to be an experiment to see if the cards that I pick have resonance with what the energy is for you for February. So if I get a lot of pentacles here, then you'll know that we're onto something. Well, the Hermit is connected to Virgo, and that's an earth sign. Oh, wow. Looky here. Well, what do you know? 3 major arcana cards. It is your, for a lot of you, it's going to be your solar return. Oh, no. What are the chances? What are the chances? What are the chances? Oh, my gosh. Let's see. Well, make it good. Oh, no. No way. And, I use this spread all the time. I got 5 out of 6 major arcana cards. That is too weird. Major arcana cards can indicate a lot of, like an eventful month. And I mean, this is your birthday month for a lot of you, not all of you. Happy birthday to those of you born in January and February. Don't want to leave anything out. I'm bringing up the, wow. I'm bringing up your astrological information here. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know if this method really works, this format. But anyway, the sun is going to be in your sign until the 18th of the month. There's a lot of energy in your second house of earned income, which is Pisces. So Mercury goes into Pisces, at the beginning of the month on the 3rd. So we're really talking about money matters being front and center. But here, the heart of the matter is the Hermit card. And this is a card of going within. Until you have your solar return, your birthday, the sun will be in your 12th house. That's just how it works. And so this is normal for this time of year. Actually, though, and I'm talking about in your exact degree of Aquarius, whether it's the sun or the rising, it's going the sun, even if the sun is in Aquarius, it will still be in the 12th house until your actual degree of your birthday. And that might not be on the exact date of your birth either, because every year it changes. This year the sun goes into Pisces on the 18th, but I've seen, different dates, and that's true of any sign. So in general, what we would say is that there's some kind of solitary energy associated with February for you, that you're reflecting on things. Again, even if you've had your birthday, you could be kind of like looking at it from the perspective of, okay, what have I learned in this coming year? What am I going to deal with? In the past position here, we have the High Priestess, and this is another card that is connected to intuitive things, like maybe waiting for something. This could be another thing, like that there's a specific thing that you're kind of wondering about. And with the High Priestess, it's kind of like trying to figure out what's going on, but it's at a higher level. There may be a secret there. And obviously, this can be even like in relationships, that a person you're dealing with, you feel like they're keeping something from you. You don't know what it is. You can't put your finger on it, but you know that there's something there. And that can feel very maddening, to say the least. And actually, what's happening is that there's going to be a full moon at 20 degrees of Leo on the 9th of February. So that is going to oppose your sun. That's in the 7th house of committed partnership. Full moons can mean endings, but I think the most important thing that full moons can mean is heightened awareness. So that means that the spotlight may be on this relationship and whether or not that person is the right person for you, because it's going to be in that house of the other. The first house where your sun is at is in your sign, so it's in the first house, the self. And because the sun represents, your, I would say even like your self-esteem, your energy itself, and then here we have the other person, you may be honoring your needs and realizing what is really going on. The full moon can also bring secrets out, and this is in the area of committed partnership. Venus, which is that goddess of love and beauty, is in the second house that she rules for the first week, so that's good for money too. And then on the 7th, Venus goes into Aries. Things get very feisty, and that's the 3rd house for you. It forms a friendly angle, a sextile, and that can be perhaps, especially for an Aquarian, some kind of love that is formed through maybe the internet or like that. So if you are like done with somebody and you're ready to move on, this may be kind of what is going on. This is right in that same time period, right before that full moon in Leo. And Mars goes into the 12th house on the 16th. So that means that Mars is in your 11th house, which is the house that you rule, for about half of the month. And that's, well, more because February is a shorter month. So Mars in your 11th house can really mean that you are, for whatever reason, doing a lot of networking and trying to kind of touch base with people in group settings. So I usually think of networking. This could have like a connection to your career. And the thing that is important to discuss regarding career matters is that, right now things are, not so, your 10th house of career is actually Scorpio. So this may have been more an outgrowth. I mean, there's not really that kind of a lot of action going on there at the moment, but in May you're going to have a full moon here, so that could be a time when you get a promotion or something like that. And in the meantime, you may be like very interested in doing whatever it takes to get as many connections as possible. Of course, you might have your own business, and this is a totally different thing, or this can be something related to friendships. That's the 11th house too. Well, the 11th house is your hopes and wishes, and that doesn't have to be just your career. I mean, there may be things that, like you're holding out this one hope for something, and you're going to do everything it takes to make it happen. And you're going to roll up your sleeves. If it's something that requires physical energy, you have it in droves. And then the action, or, I don't know if you'd call it real action, because it's going into the 12th house. And when I saw that High Priestess and even that Hermit card, I was thinking of the 12th house. And I knew that Mars was going to be going into that house. And the 12th house is the house of contemplation. Mars wants action. So perhaps this is something related to yoga. You know, maybe those two cards, the Hermit and the High Priestess, are for people who are really getting into yoga, maybe even training for a career doing it. Who knows? But, you know, I always think of Mars as physical. And then in the 12th house, it kind of has nowhere to go. So you have to work with having this energy that's a little bit pent up. In the 12th house, it's like the monastery, you know. So the two things I recommend when Mars is in your 12th house are Hatha Yoga, which can balance your chakras, you know, do all kinds of things. Not only is it a physical thing, but it will work on those chakras and balance them, but also you know, you're getting out that nervous energy, or that, you know, the physical part of it. It's a physical and it has the internal, but you know, when I say internal benefits, I'm really talking about energetic benefits. And then the other thing is doing meditation walks. And it doesn't, or contemplation walks, because I think of the Hermit can be contemplation. Even the High Priestess is like, I'm not going to use my conscious mind. I'm going to use my higher mind to kind of do these things. Speaking of the higher mind, we have the higher message. The Strength card is a card of, you know, deriving strength from something, confidence from something that is not coming from a worldly source, okay? Because this is the spiritual message, the spiritual observation of your life at this time, Aquarius. And basically what I'm getting at here is that, you know, it's so funny that I'm getting this energy in a lot going in the second house of earned income, which Taurus rules in the universal chart, because that, you know, that seems very materialistic, right? And those two cards, the Hermit and the High Priestess of the major arcana cards, are the most spiritual. I'm trying to think of any other card. I mean, the Hierophant, yes, I mean, but to me, the Hermit and the High Priestess are like 12th house, and the Hierophant is like 9th house to me. More kind of mainstream sort of belief systems, religious and philosophical. So kind of those that, you know, a study in contrast between those two types of belief. But the Strength card is also associated with the Leo. So here you go again. That's your 7th house. That's where the full moon is. And I would say if there is a relationship issue that has been kind of problematic in some way, the Strength card to me is saying your strength is in the truth. And you're seeking the truth. But I think you're seeking the truth, your own truth, your personal truth, versus whether or not somebody is telling you the truth. Because that's more mundane, and this is more of the spiritual. You might be asking yourself higher questions, like, is this person good for me? Is this situation good for me? If this is a situation with a work matter, I feel like the Hermit card and the High Priestess card, you want to be alone. You know, you're like, what's her name? I want to be alone. You want to be alone. And it's so unlike you, but it is what it is. And, you know, there are going to be different reasons for different people. Mars in the 11th house can mean fighting with a group. It can be fighting with friends. And if you feel like you're undergoing a lot of changes, Aquarius, The typical thing for you about your friendships and all that jazz may not be applicable, because you may be feeling like you're in this phase that they no longer are your people, that they are, that you've outgrown them in some way. And maybe in some cases, you even pick a fight in order to kind of get the ball rolling, so that you can have an excuse to leave and make it, that they're the culprit, when really you came to that decision on your own. And when I like to see a lot of major arcana cards in a reading, and as I think I have illustrated, I don't get this every day. I don't know if I've ever gotten, with this, my normal spread, ever gotten just pure major arcana. I might have. But you have to understand there's only 22 of them in the tarot deck. So if there are 78 cards altogether, that is a fraction, and this is a statistical, totally unexpected thing for me to get all these cards. So you can pretty much guarantee that, this is a general reading, but that you are going to have a lot of important things happen in this month. And I've been thinking about this lately, how it seems like sometimes these months are just kind of, blurring like a big blur. They're just all blurring together. They don't seem to be distinctive. I can't remember when something happened. I have to kind of think about it. And yet I think this is a very special year because of all the eclipses we're having. And therefore, this may be true for all of us. I mean, look at how we began the year, just even politically, globally. And as I record this, we haven't even gotten 3 weeks into this, and we've gone through so much. So we kind of started with a bang, and so we all have to be kind of quick on our feet to be able to navigate the changes. You're an Earth. I was going to say an Earth sign. You're you're a fixed sign, Aquarius. So even though you're known for being unpredictable, being anti-establishment, very rebellious and unconventional, you still have the part of yourself that is kind of set in your ways. And so some of these events may feel a little bit unnerving or imbalancing to you. So that might be what the Strength card represents for some of you, is that you need to marshal your forces. Don't, and maybe you already know this, and because what was going to come out of my mouth? I was going to say, look at who drains you. So if you have some friends or other people in your life who are very draining, maybe this is the partner that you are kind of deciding whether or not to leave, and that's why you're doing this soul searching. You may discover, yes, this person is draining my energy, and it's not life enhancing. It's actually life detracting. So as much as I may like certain qualities of this person, I can't really be with him or her because it just doesn't feel right. It feels like, we're not really vibing at the same level anymore. Maybe at one time we did, but we're just not doing so anymore. And I'm wondering if some of you have actually separated from a partner. Because I think you need that space in order to make the decision that you're going to make. it's like you're kind of preparing yourself for your decision. What crosses you is the Justice card. This is a card that represents Libra. So if there's a Libra person, but the Justice card to me, I was kind of alluding to this in my own way, is about imbalance. And I mean, of course, it's also about justice, but I always see those scales. And so sometimes certain things knock us off of our balance. Somebody else's mood problems that we feel dominate our lives. The boss from hell. The co-workers from hell. Forget about the boss, the co-workers from hell. The type of work that is, kind of related to empaths and feeling like they're draining you. There are so many different possibilities, but you have to have that. Another thing about the Strength card is it can be the immune system. So if you have kind of like kept yourself because you are feeling, even like health-wise, that you have to watch out for being around other people too much, that the Strength card could be like you need to strengthen your immune system. You need to build it up instead of tear it down. And you can find out how to do that in your own way through diet and things like that to boost your ability physically. And, all of those things go together because, like I said, if you do consider yourself an empath, even if you're the Aquarian who's not very emotive and you don't have that you don't get like too caught up in drama or anything like that, I think sometimes people like you may be much more susceptible to being unaware of how other people are rubbing you the wrong way energetically. And so therefore, maybe that's it too, like strengthen your aura, protect your energy, things like that. And also, if this is something related to like a potential divorce, the Justice card in reverse could be that it's a situation where the other person may be manipulating the courts. And if you do get divorced, you have to be prepared. I mean, I think everybody has to be prepared that they're not going to get what they want. But they may, the main thing is that you will not be obligated, you will not be connected to that person anymore. But if you're like thinking, will I get this, will I get that? Who knows? It's really about what is important. What is the most important thing for you right now? Is it about getting some kind of settlement or money from that other person? Or is it about finally being able to leave and not have to be associated with them? What is coming in, or the advice, is the Nine of Swords. So we have more swords here, because even the Justice card has a sword. The Nine of Swords is associated with anxiety, and just like what I said a minute ago, if you're looking at a situation in your life at a deeper level, Aquarius, it's important to note how things make you feel. If something makes you anxious, and you just are going on your merry way and ignoring it and acting and minimizing it, you run the risk of creating, a time when everything rains down on you. So always pay attention to how you feel. It doesn't mean that you have to emote in a melodramatic way. But you can you are very analytical, and you can say, oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'm feeling this, and be very detached or whatever, and look at it that way, but still honor it and still notice, pay attention to what's happening, because it can be so easy to have this habit of just keep on keeping on and not really paying attention to the feelings that are generated. And then one day, just everything having to be dealt with at once, and more intensified than it needs to be. Because to me, for some of you, you may not even be at home right now. You may be like at an ashram or some kind of a spiritual, I don't know if it would be a retreat or a training, away from your normal environment. And the Nine of Swords is wherever you go, there you are. That's how I see it. That anxiety, if people think they can escape anxiety by getting away from certain people, yes, I do believe that certain people are not good for us, and they will generate those negative emotions. But for some people, and some of you Aquarians, this reading may have nothing to do with a particular person. Perhaps the catalyst was maybe the catalyst was a relationship that has ended, that has made you think about things in a deeper way, but not necessarily the crux of the matter. Because even if you can mention things that person did that were, in your case, egregious things, you may have a history of picking people that don't give you what you want in a relationship because of your own issues. And so it really always comes back to us at the end of the day. It's never really about the other person, even when it is. It's one of those paradoxes. And before I talk about the last card, I wanted to just say a couple of more things that are happening astrologically. Mercury retrograde in the second house, actually going to go back to a late degree of Aquarius. So it's going to go back into that first house. One of the things about Mercury retrograde is that in the second house is that it can be looking at your self-esteem, and then when it goes back into the first house, how that affects how you carry yourself. Because the first house is going to be how others see you. Now again, this may have some kind of a physical component to it, because the first house is the body. So back to that strength card. Maybe you need strength training. Leo, I believe, connects to the heart. So maybe there's cardio. I don't know what's good for the heart, but maybe there's something that you need to do physically to strengthen your heart chakra, or open it up even. And that, I actually, to tell you the truth, I think that it's more, there are physical exercises that you can do for each chakra. And there's a book, I can't think of the name right now, but the author's last name is Judith, Anadia Judith. And she is an expert on chakras. I have several of her books. And one of them, her first book on chakras, I think it's called Wheels of Life. It's such a great book. I highly recommend it. And she talks about exercises that you can do for each of the chakras. And the heart chakra, this is one that I feel like when people are betrayed and abused emotionally, that this constricts that chakra. And so perhaps that's something that some people need to actually do. But this Mercury retrograde will get you thinking about how you're carrying yourself, whether or not you're projecting a confident manner, And if you have inner planets in Pisces, your moon could even be like in Pisces or Cancer or something like that. But if you have, or Virgo, if you have, or Libra, but if you have like Mars in Pisces or Venus in Pisces or even Mercury in Pisces, this can affect the way that you view life, the way that you love, and the way that you act. And it can be very kind of like tentative. And so I feel like with the Strength card, it's all about learning how, yeah, you know what? Okay, it's coming together for me with those 3 cards. Learning how to be confident in your intuitive gifts. And Aquarius is an intuitive sign. Everyone has the potential for intuition, but there are some signs that specialize in it. And being convinced of your intuitive gifts means that you stop second-guessing yourself when you have something that you want to do. The Justice card connects with Libra. Maybe that's your moon sign. Maybe that's your rising sign. And I know that there are people, you know, if you're an Aquarius, you can have, you know, any moon sign. You can have any rising sign. And you may second-guess yourself too much. And the Strength card is about having that confidence to make a decision and stick with it. And be okay with it. I mean, that's what I meant by stick with it. And the Outcome card is the Empress, which is a card of creativity, abundance, and the sensual in life. Also just love. But this can be motherhood. If you have, you know, there was like a part of me when I saw that Justice card, I was wondering if it was like a custody battle. But, you know, in some cases, if you're like contemplating starting a spiritual business and, you know, even putting those 2 words together, sometimes it makes you want to take a bath because it seems like it's so that they don't belong together. And I'm sure a lot of you feel that way too, or you might that might be your first reaction. But these are things that have to be worked through when you're going to do this. And maybe, because I wonder if some of you are training for something along those lines. I wouldn't be surprised. And the Empress is about claiming your abundance. And, oh, hello. Guess what? The Empress is, you know, it has a connection to Venus. Venus is the ruler of the 2nd house, also the 7th house, where we also have a transit. But in the 2nd house, you have these Pisces planets there, or transits. And actually, there will be a new moon in this house on the 2nd house of earned income on February 23rd at 4 degrees of Pisces. So there you go. So this is a month to claim your abundance and to also not apologize for needing space. If you do, time to think, time to reflect, time to connect with your higher spirit. You know, there's definitely that influence in this spread, along with having Mars in the 12th house. Okay, that's what I have for you, Aquarius. Again, have a blessed solar return. If you'd like a personal reading, if you'd like to look at the year ahead using your natal chart, please check me out at rainamoonastrology.com. I have a link to my online store below. Take care. Bye.